Hey guys, it's Syama here, CEO of Scaling Retail, and today we are back with another session of Instagram Live as we bring Retailing Weekly to Instagram, which is really exciting. Now, many of you guys have been seeing so many different webinars out there, so many different resources really designed to help us as businesses are navigating COVID and as they're navigating so many of the areas of retail that we are struggling with. Today, I'm going to be taking some of your questions on how to be managing your business during this time period. I'm certainly here repping, repping some athleisure, as I think many of us are, as we are meant to stay at home and work these days. But I want to kind of give a bit overview of what's happening in the market right now and what I'm seeing going on with different brands. Now, first and foremost, as we start to take a look at where the market is headed, hey there, Raphael. As we take a look to see where the market is headed, what we're noticing is that there are quite a bit of brands that are seeing a lot of success as they enter into the PPE mask business and production of gowns. What's very exciting to see is so many different manufacturers and so many people in the fashion industry starting to rally around the causes of what it means to protect the frontline workers. Personally, I'm going into week 4, is it week 5 of quarantine? Kind of hard to keep up these days. But as we look to normalize our lives and people are starting to get more adjusted, we're also starting to see consumer spending start to increase. Hey, Jonathan, we're starting to see consumer increase in purchasing as people are realizing they no longer have to hoard so much toilet paper. They no longer have to hoard all of these groceries. And now people are starting to figure out, all right, I need to get back to buying XYZ products. I need my skincare. I need all of the normal things that I need in order to live a happy and healthy life. Hey there, makers are out. So what I think is so exciting, or where we have an opportunity to really be able to upshift the way our businesses are, is simply by doing 2 things. Number one, people are still focusing on health and wellness. There's a considerable amount, there's a considerable amount of business to be done. Thank you for watching. There's a considerable amount of content that we can be creating in terms of the health and wellness space. And when we start to think about, the different areas of your business and where you should be pivoting, hey, Scott, and where you should be pivoting, we're finding that the majority of our clients are staying open and able to actually employ a lot of their people through the production of these masks. And gowns. And it's happening predominantly, what I'm seeing, in Los Angeles as well as in the New York markets. So that is what's happening. A lot of different people are having a great deal of success in terms of press. I feel like almost every day I'm seeing some new article or some new feature being done on businesses that are taking a stand and employing workers and making sure they have safe environments. Now, what's also good about this is when you take a look at the kinds of industries that are able to stay open, essential, what you're noticing is that on the essential side of things, being able to do this kind of mass production of these products is considered to be essential at this point in time. And I think that that is great for our industry because everyone is struggling to figure out how they can keep doors open and what they can do to make a profit. Now, the best business models out there when it comes to these masks are certainly going to be the ones that have high design features. It's going to be the ones that are doing a give back program. And I think ultimately it's going to be those that are donating products to the frontline workers. So if any of you guys out there are thinking about how you can best engage and what it might look like to be able to get your factories working again, please make sure that embedded into your business model, you're also thinking about what those give back programs can look like, whether it be a donation, whether it be a buy one, give one, any sort of those kinds of components. The other thing that I've been seeing a lot of is some kind of mixed messaging on emails and newsletters as far as how retailers are thinking about their marketing strategies. I really appreciated an email that I saw the other day coming out of one of my favorite stores, number 6, who did a very good job of addressing the fact that even though we are in these unprecedented times, we are also dealing with the fact that, hey, we have product, things are beautiful, and we want to be able to engage with it. And so I think that being able to still go forward with your marketing strategies, with your newsletters, with those kinds of components are going to be important as you think about how you're going to message that, right? And I think a lot of messaging needs to be a lot more empathic. I think it needs to have a lot more call to attention of the fact that these are unprecedented times, and people's mental health and what we're doing to stay happy is certainly different than anything we've ever seen before. But things are beautiful, and fashion is beautiful, and retail has so much exciting nuances and emotional respects, right? It's like we love what fashion and retail does for us in terms of retail therapy. So I think all of those things are very important to stop and consider as you go forward with your email marketing campaigns. How are you addressing the fact that you might have new product? How are you putting things on sale strategically instead of going out of business? Unfortunately, I have seen quite a few small brands go ahead and panic and take 75% off of everything. And to me, that actually is very worrisome, right? That kind of triggers to the market, to the consumer side, a little bit of a panic, right? Why are all these brands doing heavy discounts? And so that concerns me. So if you guys are wondering what to do with inventory management and how to kind of be looking at your forecasting, right? The one thing to keep in mind is, yes, your spring 1 or spring 2 deliveries may have been canceled. You may not have the right product right now that consumers are looking for, but is it possible for that product to carry over through the summer? And is it possible for that product to actually carry over and have a much greener and longer lifespan? If the answer is yes, then please don't have a panic at the disco, and please don't start to mark everything down because it's not going to get you anywhere. Now, the second thing that I'm seeing is really interesting is a lot of brands are still continuing to go forward with their brand launches. And the way in which we're looking at orchestrating brand launches has a lot to do with how we are thinking about creating that at-home experience, right? How do you kind of bring a brand to an editor or to an influencer and create something that is both engaging and meaningful, despite the fact that they may not be able to come to a party or go to an event or do any sort of kind of external activations. So guys, if you're wondering, what do I do with my marketing budget because it's so expensive now to market on Facebook or Instagram, the marketing channels you want to focus on are going to really be centered around direct mail. How are you able to help create that experience at home? How can you actually help a brand or help your customer be able to feel at home through that kind of direct mailer, and then also obviously through those editors and influencers that you want to have exposure to your product. I can tell you though, if you are a brand out there that does not have any sort of give back, that doesn't have any sort of I'm being conscientious about what's happening on the front lines, it's going to be very difficult, I think, for an editor or any business right now to get that kind of recognition. And I think influencers are going to be less eager to represent your brand if you don't have something that has a very strong give back component. Okay, so far no one has any questions, which is odd, but okay. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I've been seeing with some of our small businesses in terms of loans and, what's happening on that front. But if you guys do have questions on, what to be doing in terms of managing communication, inventory operations, I will tell you that I have seen some very extensive lists being circulated of very high quality, talented people who actually are looking for work. Quite a few startups have had to do a tremendous amount of layoffs. There are extremely talented people that are on the job market that are looking to have their hands into interesting projects and are looking to apply themselves in ways that are meaningful. Now, if you are a small business owner and maybe you haven't had the capital to be able to hire top tier talent in the past, this actually could be an amazing opportunity to grab some very key instrumental people to help really set your business apart from anywhere else. And I think if you want to further explore where those people are, I would just even start off by putting up some job posts and start to find out whether or not you can get those kinds of leads. People are hungry, they want to work, they want to apply themselves, and this could be an amazing opportunity to get those people. We've certainly been advising our clients to do so, and so far it's been quite successful. Okay, so Red Daisy Activewear, you are in the process of relaunching. And there's no rest of that question. But if you please put in the rest of that question, I will do my best at answering it. Other things that are happening in our neck of the woods, oh, here we go. We were in the process of perfecting our fit for a dinner relaunch. All right. Let's see. Okay, so Red Daisy, as you put this together, I'm going to answer this question here on my thoughts on the streetwear industry. So here's what's really interesting, guys. So I was recently quoted in Glossy talking about, where luxury was heading. And one of the things that I think is so interesting is that when it comes to, that streetwear or luxury streetwear brand, the last few years with all of these new kind of high-end Virgil Abloh, Gucci, a lot of these brands are trying to really focus on that high-end streetwear category and market. What I think we might end up happening, and this is just kind of a guess, but, as we start to see a lot of those resources and dollars that were being spent in that kind of new streetwear luxury market, everyone's purchasing high-end Jordans on GOAT, StockX, all of that, right? All of a sudden, now that we're seeing the market shift, the people who may have had that strongest purchasing power within those segments are looking to send their money other places. And as we see kind of where these luxury brands start to pick up their bulk dollars again, I imagine, again, who knows, but I imagine that we're going to start to see companies like Gucci go back to producing goods and focusing on some of the more classic and heritage pieces that are quote unquote investment items, right? So it used to be that you'd see a Gigi logo, handbag, and that was an investment item. Then we saw with Alessandro a whole entire shift into this more kind of contemporary streetwear, high-end luxury space. I wonder if that luxury consumer is going to be as interested in a product that has much more volatility in terms of the resale value or in terms of the longevity or what it means in the market than, let's say, one of the classic GG bags. So let's kind of keep our eyes on the luxury streetwear space and see where that ends up. As far as streetwear in general, guys, I am wearing right now an entire jogger set. It is part of my athleisure working outfit. I would like to thank my new favorite company, Entire World, for making really great French terry joggers. But guys, when it comes to just streetwear and athleisure, I would say really, it's the new suit, right? Yoga pants are the new khakis. So when it comes to thinking about where that market's going to go, I would say, yes, things that are more casual, things that are in that athleisure market, I think are going to be still a really important category and will continue to grow. All right, Red Daisy, back to you. What do you suggest we work on now since everything to do with fittings have been canceled? Are you recommending, relaxed, comfortable clothing for stay at home? This is atypical for me. What would be wise? Oh, wait, this is a different question. Okay. Great branding and marketing team. Okay, I got to tell you guys something, and this is kind of crazy. So when we think about things like a launch and what makes a launch so important, PR is not to be underestimated. I just recently helped a brand launch on Sunday. That brand is now today, so in the last 3 days, at $120,000 in sales. Press and New York Magazine, obviously like the ways in which you start to think about how you leverage marketing, branding, and positioning. I kid you not when I say that there is no MVP in fashion, right? There is no MVP. Either the shit is like on target and it works with your customer base and it looks good and it's on point, or it's not. And if it's not on point, if it doesn't work with your customer base, the shit ain't not going to sell, right? So rushing to market, whether that is I have a brick and mortar store, I'm rushing to be on e-com, or I'm on Instagram, now I'm rushing to be on Pinterest. Any sort of rushed process right now is going to shoot you in the foot. And the reason why I say that is that your customer knows when it's authentic and when it's not. And what does it mean when it's authentic? It means that it's genuine. It means that it's consistent. It means that it looks good. It feels good. It tastes good. The whole experience is very intentional. If it's not intentional, it's not going to work. So when you're asking yourself about, do I need marketing and PR? I mean, look, there are so many articles that are out right now like, oh, does anyone need PR? Yeah. Do you know why you need PR? Because if you are a small company and you don't have enough time to even manage your own QuickBooks, and you need an accountant or a bookkeeper, or you're a small company of 5 and you're trying to figure out how to do everything, who the hell's going to have the time to keep up those relationships with those editors? Who's going to have the time to keep up the relationships with influencers? So I do believe that when you start to think about hiring pain points and what your business needs, you need to ask yourself, can I actually do all of these things, or do I need someone to be able to help me and facilitate and do them for me? So yes, I think you need marketing, and yes, I think you need a publicist, unless you happen to be extremely well connected and can manage to do that heavy lifting and have the time to do it on your own. So Glenda asked, I recently heard on the Business of Fashion podcast that the days of influencers has more likely come to an end and the days of experts will reemerge. Okay. There's so many experts out there, guys. It's like totally wild. It blows my mind consistently. And why is that? Because there are so many people who say they're experts who aren't. And I can certainly see that in this time of the virus and everyone's freaking out. There have been so many people who are like, I'm an expert in marketing, or I'm an expert in this space. Zero credentials, sometimes difficult to vet people. There are a lot of agency startups that are just kind of enabling people to go out there and say, I'm a conversion specialist and I want to do this for you for free because I'm trying to build up my book, or I want to do X. Please, buyer beware. If it seems too good to be true, chances are that it is. But in terms of like what's happening with the word influencer, I would really like for us to reframe the conversation of what an influencer is, right? Politicians are influencers, right? Because they are out in the world and they are seen and people look at them and they pay attention. Anyone on TV doesn't have to be a celebrity. Like a traditional celebrity is an influencer. CEOs are influencers, right? People who are visible to the public are influencers. And anyone who's only been focusing on a social media strategy that is purely based on fashion stylists on Instagram is missing the entire point of what it means to get your product in front of those who have influence to your customer. A lot of these fashion stylists on Instagram may not be your customer, but because we've been so confused, I would say, in terms of what influencers are and what they do, it's very likely that many of you guys out there have tried to struck up relationships with influencers, maybe even done some influencer work and have it not come to fruition because it was the wrong fit and because you weren't leveraging what influence truly means for your business. And so a great exercise, guys, I think the coffee I had just really kicked in. Okay, so I think the real question is, who are the people who are in front of the people who you want to sell to, right? Who are those people? Are they CEOs? Are they people who are in the health and wellness space? Must they have an Instagram account for them to be influential? No, they do not. Right? Influence has to do with the circle of people that you have some decision-making influence over, right? People look to that person in order to learn about something, to be educated about something, and to see what that other person is doing. And so they don't have to exist on Instagram at all in order to be influential. So as you guys are re-looking at an influencer marketing strategy, my gift to you, or really my challenge to you, is to ask yourself, where might I find these other pockets of people who can actually make an impact on my business in a way that isn't just, fashion stylist, influencer centric, right? What might those other touch points and people look like? I do believe that will be the answer to the influencer problem. So are influencers going to go away? No, they're not, because the term influencer has simply just really been misused all of these past years. Hopefully, many of you will start to expand your definition and thereby have much stronger and healthier marketing strategies because you're not so focused on driving down just one lane. All right, let's see. Okay. How do I reach out to a store that went quiet on me before the pandemic started in an empathic way? What a wonderful question. I love the term empathy. Really one of my favorite terms. And so when we're thinking about, reaching out to a store that went quiet, I would tell you the following. Unfortunately, right, you're in a situation that many others find themselves in, which is stores are going quiet because they're not sure what to do. Now, the not nice thing to do would be to harass them and say, hey, like, what's going on? I want to build a relationship. Being empathic means putting yourself in the situation that these people are in. And so ask yourself, what is it that my retailers might be concerned with? So what am I concerned with? Number one, I'm concerned with the fact that no one's buying anything from my brick and mortar store, or no one's buying anything from my e-commerce store. I'm very concerned if I have retail, brick and mortar, that I have no other outlet to sell my products onto, right? So they're probably wondering, how am I getting myself on Shopify? How am I monetizing Instagram, right? So if it's a brick and mortar location, you need to send them an email and say, hey, I really hope that you're weathering this crisis okay. I know we were in talks to hopefully build a relationship together, and given that everything seems to be on pause, I'd love to circle back with you, in the next month or so to see how things are progressing, looking forward to building a future, looking forward to bridging and seeing what we can create. And I think it's simply the spirit of collaboration that is going to help you be empathic, because it's not really about you, right? Without our retail counterparts, many of us are only living off of e-commerce businesses. And e-commerce is great, but unless you have a sizable business or you've built something or built a reputation and traction, it's going to be very difficult for you to all of a sudden just invest resources in order to make that something, that is meaningful, right? And remember what I said before, this isn't about just charging down different paths and throwing, spaghetti at the walls. This is really about doubling down on the things that you're already good at. And so when you want to go into bridging and building relationships, guys, and you're reaching out to these retailers, it should be with a sense of compassion because you understand the position that they're in. It should be from a position of empathy, and it should also be looking forward to the future, right? And so I would say maybe send them an email, let them know that you understand the position that they're in and that you will check back in a month. And if anything changes on their end, feel free to have them, reach out, and you'd love to continue the conversation. This is not the time to have expectations. A lot of retailers are shutting their doors. I recently wrote an article on Forbes about how Pottery Barn in Dallas boarded up the store. I mean, what a terrible sign to the community that they don't believe that they can keep the windows even as is before needing to board it up because they think someone's going to loot it or whatever the case is, right? So these retailers are also suffering from a great deal of panic. They don't know what's happening in the market. Companies like The Gap put a hold on their Q3, Q4 orders so far. I think summer that was coming in, holidays kind of tenuous at this point. And they have, such an incredible hold on the production market and supply chain that's likely going to have ripple effects, So I think it's important to be empathic and stay agile. If the retail store is an e-commerce store, do I do the same thing? If it's an e-commerce store and they're not marking everything on down, then that probably means that business is going okay for them. I do not know an e-commerce store right now that doesn't have some sort of promo or some sort of sale that's running. So I would say be smart about looking at that business and ask yourself, is this business model, does this business look like it's staying in business, or does this business look like it's struggling? Again, reach out to them, let them know that, these are trying times for everyone. If they have a few minutes to jump on a phone call and talk to you and see how things are going, that's great. But please don't do anything with any sort of expectation in mind. I think you would shoot yourself in the foot by thinking that you're going to get a PO right now without there being an existing relationship, with that brand. Okay. All right, guys, that is going to be it for me, unfortunately. I appreciate all of you guys kind of staying these last 30 minutes and asking questions and whatnot. Tomorrow I will be on Maker's Row. I'll be doing a whole other kind of Instagram live session on Maker's Row, which is great. And what I think is very important about Maker's Row, guys, is that, they're collaborating, working with a platform called Embark, which is super cool. Hasn't launched yet. It's another platform for, content and experts and things like that. So they've been doing a ton of really cool programming over the last couple weeks. But join me tomorrow there. And I will be there at 3:00 Eastern. So this time tomorrow, I will be on Maker's Row. And guys, please send me questions over email at hello@scalingretail.com. We take a lot of questions, answer them through our newsletter, through our YouTube, and certainly I'll be taking a lot of questions. Thanks, Astrid. And I'll be taking a lot of questions tomorrow on Maker's Row. I want to answer this final question from Glenda. And then I'm going to sign off. So this final question says, when you're strictly an online retailer, how do you suggest marketing beyond social media? Glenda, you should have heard the first part of my IG Live, which was that I think you need to be looking at direct mail. I think you need to be looking at text messaging. I think you need to be looking at other touch points. You have to think about this concept of, how do I take advantage of attention, right? If everyone's focusing in one place, right? Where's the cheaper marketing dollars, or where else can I grab people's attention that not everyone is working on? And I can tell you, direct mail is still a great option. So many brands do it, but not enough brands are doing it. And trust me, everyone's going to be looking into their inbox to see that stimulus check coming in every day. Everyone thinks it's like a $1,200 stimulus check per person. So guess what? People will be glued to their mailboxes and will be waiting for those stimulus checks. So it would be a good idea to think about, what on earth can you put in someone's mailbox? All right, guys, that is all for me. Again, send me any emails you want at hello@scalingretail.com. Otherwise, I'll be posting this back on our stories and certainly publishing on YouTube, as well as all the other amazing content we put together. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye.